welcome back to the Purple Rock Podcast, your final word in Survivor, because we tend to post late. I'm your host, Andy Sayers, and my regular co-host, John, cannot be with me this week because who wants a co-host who can't even make it to the merge? I had plenty of options for different co-hosts. There's all the commenters out there. We've had some excellent guests, but I was thinking, who really wants to mess around with all that Skyping and mixing timelines and all of that when I have another Survivor fan just living right here in the same house as me? So, making our second appearance on the show, please welcome back my wife, Kim.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this, because while I will probably just talk this episode, nobody wants to hear me talk all the time. I mean, every once in a while I'm going to need somebody to just kind of break it up and give me that look like, yammer. So that's your job here today, which really isn't all that different than your job in many of our conversations. So,
yes, that's true.
So that should go well. Unless this devolves into bickering, and then you guys will all be like, I thought this was a Survivor podcast, not The Amazing Race.
Or maybe I'm just here to laugh at all of Andy's jokes.
Well, now that I have one laugh, I can just throw that in the audio the rest of the time. All right, so basic impressions. What did you think of last night's episode?
I liked it. It was good.
And that's why she's going to be the all-star co-host that we were all hoping for. Yeah, it was another good episode. I think this has been a good season so far. And there's, you can think of many different reasons why. Maybe, the blood versus water thing, which had been working okay. Redemption Island's proven some drama. Maybe it wasn't the dead weight we thought it was. Always nice to have returnees, but ultimately, what any good Survivor season comes down to is casting. They've lucked out on some good cast, and the chemistry's been there. So even episodes where, I don't have a ton to say about, what went down or the people that got voted off, but it was still an enjoyable hour of television.
I agree. And when you talk about casting, I guess that kind of brings us to who was your favorite? What storylines did you like were your favorite characters, I guess? Even though they are real people, we still kind of call them characters. Well,
they're definitely characters. They're edited out. I don't really care about them as people. I care about them as game pieces being moved around for my amusement. But yeah, returnees usually are good. And I know whenever returnees lists come out, and we did this even in our first podcast, you complain really him, them. But sometimes people are just more interesting the second time around. But, and, John and I have been talking about this for a while. The big coup is Vetus, and I think he, again, was probably the most interesting part of the episode. But, we're getting ahead of ourselves, so let's do this in order, because there's one great thing about Survivor is that there's always structure.
Yeah.
And yes, and the structure of this season is we always start with Redemption Island, which I've said some decent things about this season, that it's kind of provided some good drama. Starting to think that was basically just because Brad Culpepper was around and people had strong feelings about him. I'm starting to now again feel like this is not really delivering a lot, but maybe that's just because last night's Redemption Island was the lamest challenge I've ever done?
Lamest. I think we talked about it. Our 4-year-old son, we figure by the time he's 6, he could probably do this challenge. Walking across a balance beam, undoing a few knots, and then being able to count to 100. And putting the blocks down. Come on. It's child's play.
I know some of you are like that, whoa, my 4-year-old kid can identify numbers, but it's they're going to teach him that in school anyway. So, we've worked on it a bit, but who really has time to go 33, 34? And he'll just get bored at school. You don't want to have the genius kid that gets left behind or the dumb kid. So we're aiming for a nice solid middle.
Mediocrity.
Parents of the year. Well, I find that the nice solid middle will provide him the tools he needs to succeed on reality television, which, as we all know, is what's most important. But yeah, I'll try to defend this challenge, because the puzzle was not a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's even easier than what we just said of moving. So what there was numbered tiles, 1 through 99. And it was even easier than that because it was separate bags, and the first bag had 1 through 10. Mm-hmm. Literally, you had to put numbers 1 through 10. I think if you gave him a little bit of time, our son could actually do that. Whereas, if they'd mixed up the tiles, if it had been one bag that had 10 random numbers within 100, and another bag, then that would have been at least a semi-challenge. But I think the puzzle was a red herring. Last week, we had a similar challenge where it was, a bit of running balance and grabbing bags. and then doing the puzzle at the end. And all that stuff at the beginning with the bags and the running was just for show. It was meaningless. It all came down to the puzzle, and it didn't matter how much time you kind of got ahead. At a certain point, everybody kind of reset, and it was about who did the puzzle fastest. This week was the opposite. The puzzle was meaningless. I mean, other than the fact that it may have taxed Brad Culpepper's abilities, given that he had shown some struggles with math in the first episode with the 5 and 4 is in and numbers and fingers. But the challenge was the balance beam. The challenge was untying. And that's where Laura Moret won and lost this challenge.
Yes, it's very true. Because we do know that women tend to be better at the balance.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually they have smaller feet, and probably just about that, lower center of gravity. Now, I do remember in one world, Monica had a really hard time at a balancing challenge, and it could possibly, and I'm just throwing this out there, be because she is artificially imbalanced in top-heavy.
Well, is she?
I'm saying that she has fake breasts.
I know you are, and I didn't really notice.
Yeah, so I think it was even more obvious in one world. It was one of those deals where they were all trying to share one balance beam, and she just couldn't get up there, and they couldn't get past anyway. So it was a good thing that she wasn't on there, although I suspect if she was at Redemption Island and Brad wasn't, he would have swapped. But yeah, so I think it was just a matter of putting the emphasis on that, and then seeing how the contestants would respond to the stress of speed.
Yeah.
All that said, it was a stupid challenge, and they should never do it again.
Yeah, I agree.
As I predicted last week, Laura Moret wins, John places, and we have to say goodbye to Brad Culpepper.
Oh, darn.
Well, elaborate. How did you feel about Brad Culpepper this season?
I don't like him.
And why is that?
I think he's not a very nice person, and he just kind of acts kind of entitled, and you know, he's that obvious alpha male leader type, and no one really likes those ones, and so you got to get them out early.
I'm interested to see if Brad Culpepper will set a record as the earliest boot to get invited back into the game, because they were clearly invested in his character this season.
I agree.
He generated a lot of drama, and I've discussed in past podcasts that some of his tactics weren't bad. It's just he attacked the game too hard. He attacked it like he was out on a football field, and Survivor requires finesse. Returning players tend to have a little bit more finesse. So I'm not ruling out that this is the last we've ever seen of Brad Culpepper, and I'm not ruling out that the next time we see him, he might not be so bad. But same time, yeah, I was okay to see him go. He was just a little bit too aggressive. He said some dumb things, and that's not what I look for in a Survivor player. So the other thing that happens at Redemption Island this season is the person who wins the challenge gets the right to give a clue. And what a boon this has been. Just fantastic television for Survivor. Exactly the way they wanted it to turn out, I'm sure, because for the third week in a row, the person who received the clue, and this time it was Vetus, receiving it from Laura M., just threw it in the fire.
Yeah.
Do you think this is driving the Survivor producers crazy?
I'm sure it is. I know it drives me crazy. I would like to know what it is. And I also feel like if you're not wanting to use it for yourself, why don't you go ahead and just open it up and let everyone, free for all, go find it or whatever. I don't know. It just feels very like, I don't know, taking the game into their own hands, and it's kind of annoying.
I kind of like it that they are taking the game in their hands. I mean, it can be frustrating that an idol isn't out there. An idol often is a tool for interesting television. But I kind of like it when the contestants take the producers' best laid plans and just mess them all up. It's happened a few times. Well, it happened. I mean, this is how Survivor became. I mean, the very first season, they thought this was going to be a challenge of survival, and people voting out every week. And Richard Hatch looked at us like, no. If it's a voting game, and, well, multiple votes is a better thing, and I'm going to form an alliance. And the show was like, alliance? That's terrible. You're breaking up our stupid game of cat puzzles. It turns out, no, it was a much better thing. So this time, the producers were like, ha, we'll devise this Redemption Island, and we'll put the clue right out in front of everybody, and that'll cause drama. And quickly after the ouster of John, the players are recognized like, no, I'm not going to invite that into my life. Be gone, Clue. But I'm wondering, does this mean that it's going to be a season of no idols?
I'm starting to feel that way. At this point, it feels like there's no reason not to keep throwing it in the fire. I mean, everyone's in the same boat. Yeah, I just feel like if there's going to be too much animosity, if someone decides, yes, I'm going to try to find the idol. That, and I mean, if you know that person has the clue or whatever, I just follow them around. Like, there's that one season where that girl sat on, like, the water
Yeah, last season.
Last season.
Malcolm had the clue, and Andrea just hung out with him.
Yeah. So I think
And then she got it the next episode.
Yeah, so
And then she was voted out the next episode when she was holding the idol. And that's what I wonder. I mean, obviously this was started because Sean had clues. He didn't share them and was voted out.
Yeah.
And thus, kind of a groupthink has kind of followed, and other survivors have decided, I just don't want that kind of heat. That's what we're getting. But I also wonder if it's just kind of a trend that the idol has been getting less and less powerful over the years. Even last season, there was tons of idols found, tons of idols played, but it didn't really amount to much.
No.
John Cochran didn't need an idol at all to stay in control of the game. Andrea was a power player until she got an idol, and then she was a target and she was gone. Malcolm had full idols, and it worked out to get rid of Philip, but then Malcolm was gone the very next week when it would have been nice if he had an idol. Reynolds threw a couple of them away for no reason, so... And then in previous seasons, you have things like Colton just going home with the idol, Kim never really having to play it, Malcolm never really having to play it in the Philippines. So maybe the idol's played out at this point. I mean, the days of, Russell the idol truffle hunter, just kind of digging them all up and causing chaos is kind of over. Maybe it's because of the days of Russell and the way he was able to turn around 2 seasons that people just think idols are too powerful. If you have one, we need to target you.
Right.
So I'm okay if we don't see it, especially if it leads to maybe just the cooling of the idol. Maybe the producers just say, let's try a season without it. I'm not one of those people that, hates the idol. I think innovation is good for the game, but, we can take some time off and then see if there's some new interesting twists that can be done with it. But the big story of the episode also happened at Redemption Island, and it was swap. So after most of the season being dominated by the returning players, and just an incredible shock of, wow, experience actually helps people, the show decided to switch up teams, and we had Vetus and Katie join Tina, Monica, and Kat, and Laura B on one side. So we had 5 girls, 1 guy. Mm-hmm. And then Aris Jervis and Tyson joined Caleb, Hayden, and Sierra on the other. Makes 5 guys, 1 girl. They probably have tribe names, and I don't know which one, and it's going to make it hard. Before I used to just say Returnees Tribe.
Yes.
And Loved Ones Tribe, and now, I don't know, mostly male, mostly female.
It's pretty interesting, though, that they managed to do it that way. Being that, Tyson wanted to pick last, and they still managed to do this, all mostly, majority male, majority female crowds. So
yeah, so
that was kind of interesting.
And we'll talk more about the swap a little later, but they've kind of gone more to the random selection. Everybody, draws rocks, smashes paint, reaches in and grabs buffs. And for 3 times in a row that they've done swaps, they've resulted in these, at least first look, incredibly lopsided tribes. So all the fit, buff guys are on one tribe, and then, older women on the other. Last season, it was all the athletes on one side and kind of the dorks on the other side. And it's the same deal in One World. So it's random is probably the most fair way of doing it, but I wonder if each time the show's just or maybe they don't care. Maybe either way it gets drama. But, who do you think that, just basic first impressions when you see the tribes like that and you see people on different sides, who was hurt most by this swap, do you think?
Sierra.
Really? Why is that?
Well, because she's the only girl. She's little. She's kind of useless. I just don't see it working out well for her.
All right, well, I'm going to skip ahead to the next question and answer by way of rebutting that. And the question, of course, is who does it benefit the most? And my answer actually would be Sierra. Back when they were a tribe before, when it was still Loved Ones, and there was the 3 guys and the 2 girls, if they felt like they were going to have multiple tribals, well, there's a good chance the Loved Ones are going to lose again, because that's what they were doing pretty heavily in challenges that weren't based on slip and slide ability. One more tribal council, and I think they would have had to vote her out, because they don't know when the merge is coming, and you can't just keep trying to keep her around and lose.
Right.
Now, yes, she's on a tribe with 5 guys, who, just to skip ahead, but everybody who's listening to this would have already watched the episode, who won this week.
Yeah.
So now she gets to sit out next week.
Well, I never thought about that.
They might not lose again. So she's, I would say, a 95% chance to go to the merge, because even if they lose, which could happen, it was close to happening this week, looks like the guys are going to try to attack each other. I mean, that's already we're seeing that. But also, that's just what happens. We had a 5-guy alliance that fell apart after 2 weeks. It's too close to the merge that they're going to want to start, making their power moves. There's no definition of power move anywhere that involves taking out Sierra. So I think she's set. And then once the merge comes, it's a traditional player of we can eliminate her anytime, so let's not worry about it right now.
And the next thing you know, she'll win, and Andy will be super happy because he just won.
That would be amazing. And as much as I've been defending Sierra, I don't think she's going to win. But I don't think Final 3 is out of the question. Yeah. And I'd say the other winner was her compadre there. I think Katie is also kind of in the same boat, although in a different way. She gets to go over to the other tribe now, and now she's with her mom and other women. So before, if it would have just stayed the other way, and let's just assume 2 more tribals of the original returnees versus loved ones, it was probably going to be Sierra and Katie getting voted out.
Yes.
Now she's over there with her mom. Vetus is a much more important target when it first starts out, and then obviously things flip the way that this happened in this episode. In any case, Katie's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
So Sierra and Katie went from the bottom to, a very safe middle where they'll be very comfortable. Instead, I think who got hurt most by this swap was the Boskauskas brothers, Aris and Vetus. They were both leaders of the tribes that they were in, fairly comfortable, had different alliances, different ways to go, and now they both are targets. And they didn't even get to merge together. So we saw in this episode that, Tyson and Jervis are already targeting Aris, or at least pushing him forward to be the target. And Vetus was probably going to go home until, Cat screwed up royally.
Yeah.
Next week could be the same deal, Maybe Vetus just bought himself 3 days, or if not, it could be Aris that goes home. I don't think either would have been the case if there was no tribal swap. And I think the other person that this hurts the most is the show. I mean, the whole concept when they introduced family members, loved ones being there together, was at some point that the loved ones would play together, would be together, and would have to make the hard choices of when do I turn on my loved one? Do I do this for my loved one? We've got 2 loved ones together. That's it. Tina and Katie. And there's a good chance that the only 2 loved ones that are still, playing the main game, Aris and Vetus, won't make the merge.
Right.
At most, we will ever have 3 sets of loved ones playing together because either Kat or Laura M could come back in the game and their loved one could be there. Right. That's it. So 3 pairs is the max we could get, and I'd say most likely it's only going to be 2. So the entire, promise of the season may never really be fulfilled.
That makes sense, yes, that's true.
Which say why last week I was saying they should just merge so that they could preserve some of this. Or at the very least, maybe they should have done this swap like a week ago, before they had to vote out one more person, being Laura M, taking one more pairing off the board. But, I guess they couldn't have known that people who had never played the game before would suck so hard in comparison to people that had, because we have no mountain of evidence that would show that that would be the case. So, we have 2 new tribes. We get a glimpse of the new tribe life. Over on the mostly guy side, you had Tyson just doing a bunch of silly Tyson stuff, undermining Aris at every turn to make him look bad, and helpfully narrating it for us so we knew exactly what he was doing. And he decided to take his Coconut Bandits act solo and just take the food when nobody was looking. What did you think of all that?
Weird. I don't know. Tyson's really amusing and stuff, but he kind of comes across as kind of a dick.
Yeah, see, I don't think Tyson comes off as kind of a dick. He's a dick. He is. He's a funny dick. Yeah.
Does that make it better than I guess?
Yes, I think so.
Laugh at his dickiness.
If it's entertaining, that's one thing about Tyson is he is a very good at being a reality TV show contestant. And I think he's always aware of the fact that this is a show, and he has a desire to put on a show. So far in his past seasons, maybe at the expense of his own success instead, competition within the show.
I feel bad for Aris though, man. Like he's kind of like taken back. Like what's happening here?
That's actually a question. So some people thought that, Tyson had just laid it on a bit too thick, that he wasn't being as slick as he wanted, and Aris must be like, hey dude, what's up? I kind of feel like, no, Aris probably just thinks this is Tyson. Tyson's the kind of guy that's always taking the piss out of somebody, is always just being a little sarcastic, and he's just kind of, ribbing his buddy, the way I would constantly do to John to try and keep my own superiority in this podcast up. So I think, while it looked really, obvious to us, because while it was happening, we also have, voiceover of Tyson telling us exactly what he's doing. I don't know if Aris was really hip to it. It's just kind of like, yeah, ha ha ha, funny buddy. And then maybe the other people were there just kind of like, this Tyson guy's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of gets back to the idea of villains, heroes, all of that, which Tyson was a villain in the season called heroes versus villains. I don't mind, quote-unquote villains that aren't being mean for the sake of being mean. Russell Hantz was just mean aggressively, and what that really offended me is it's just a dumb way to play a game like this. But just saying, mean things in a confessional about people, I'm cool with that. I almost think that I might be that jerk if I ever on the show. But the coconut stealing thing.
Yeah, I'm not big on. Though it doesn't really seem like it's like they're totally out of food.
No, I mean there are more coconuts out there.
That's
I mean,
what I'm saying though. I feel like it's not like they're starving to death or anything. So I feel like whatever.
Well, it's an incredible social faux pas.
It is. Though.
Food around there is a shared resource.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of two minds. So on one mind, again, kind of earlier in the discussion, it's hilarious. I'm all for #CoconutBandit as a viewer. But as gameplay, it's an incredibly unnecessary risk for what? Just a little bit extra coconut water? I mean, just collect 5 more coconuts and everybody has that and you're going to have it. Like, he's just doing this sort of thing to amuse himself.
Yes.
I don't think there's, like, an extra benefit that he's getting that much more food than everybody else because he can't be eating that much more in private. And if he has all this time to just sneak away to go steal coconuts and food, why don't you go find a freaking idol?
There you go.
But, make good TV, Tyson, because, as I'll discuss later, I don't think he has any chance of winning this game. But, we never really did think he was having any chances, because he always sabotages himself. In terms of people who do have a chance at winning this game, let's go over to the other island, where Vetus had a set of antics, which were much more clever and much more aligned to a game in which you need to form and then use relationships with other people. He's immediately on the outs. 1 man, 5 women, 4 of whom are in an alliance with each other, the 5th being a family member of the person that's in an alliance. He's just an obvious target. And we've seen this in swaps before, that sometimes a very strong player just finds himself outnumbered on the other side and is gone. He didn't just roll over and let this happen. He decided to work his social game and open up to the women, giving him this sob story. What did you think of that?
Amazing. I think he's amazing for his sob story, I guess. I mean, how many people do we know got into hard drugs and went to jail as, a poor guy and then comes out with really torn relationships with his siblings? Like, come on.
Well, I write in message boards and talk about Survivor on the internet, so many hardened criminals.
Hardened criminals, yes, hardened criminals. No, I mean, his story is very interesting. I mean, like I said, he seems like a nice guy. He went to jail. Most of us do not know people who've gone to jail. It's interesting. It shows his humanity and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So. Yeah,
we'd watch Vetus in the 2nd season of Orange is the New Black.
I love Orange is the New Black. Awesome. But yeah, so that's what I feel like he really... And opening up, men tend not to open up very much. That's kind of personal things. So for a lot of women, I think we just eat that up.
I think, and we're now seeing the big value of bringing my wife onto the show here, besides just letting me pontificate at will, is that we've got a woman's perspective. Vetus's ploy to work on women worked so well that, even the women on the other side of the screen were like, oh yes, tell us more. Sensitive yoga man soul. No, I mean, obviously, anytime you can form social bonds in this game, it's a great positive. What I want to know is, how does he start that conversation? People are all like, I think we need to start a fire. And it's like, I want to tell everybody about the time that I was addicted to drugs. It's like, it didn't seem like it was a natural, everybody just kind of sitting around sharing stories. But what do I know? I mean, I'm the kind of person that, honestly, I don't even ask John what he's done for a living. I mean, it's like I talk to you every week, and I can't, broach stories about personal lives, because if we're not talking about, basketball or Survivor or football, then really what's all that interesting to talk about? So that's, now when I'm saying that, it's like, maybe I wouldn't be as good at Survivor as I thought I would.
You would not?
I just talk about how much I love my wife and stuff. That seems to work on the ladies'
Maybe they wouldn't even know my name.
Oh, yeah, I would just refer to you as my wife. Yeah, I mean, you're sitting next to me and I can't even give you your name. But yeah, I thought that was really great story work, especially because it's like the editors immediately cut in some other interviews with the women, like, oh yeah, I really saw Vetus in a different light. I like how Laura B is like, the way he opened up reminded me of Rupert. And then Jonathan Penner tweeted to that, Rupert was a heroin addict?
Jonathan Penner. I'd like to see him back. He's great.
Yeah, they could bring him back a 4th time.
Yeah.
He could be the 3rd, 4th time player.
Yeah.
So, meeting the new tribes, establishing the new normal, leads into the immunity challenge. What an epic blunder that was by Tina and Laura B.
I feel very bad for them. It was very clear, and then of course it got worse because they couldn't hear what their teammates were yelling at them, so they could have gone back earlier, but they didn't because they didn't know what the heck they were talking about. I feel really awful for them, but yes, it's totally their fault, and yeah, it should have led to something like a vote out or something.
Yeah, you're one of those people that think, there should be consequences for people's actions. I don't believe that for a minute. I don't care.
I know, but still.
The consequences of your actions is how well you strategize and the bonds you formed. Challenges should be almost meaningless, other than maybe the first one or so, when you're looking for a reason to vote somebody out. Probst gave an interview on EW last night, as he does every week, and he's just kind of explaining how that could happen. And he says this happens all the time, and he even warns the players that you should listen. Don't just, bark out when you, hear the first thing that's interesting to you. Is that he'll start talking about a challenge, and he'll say, the first part involves swimming, and then people are immediately like, oh, I'm good at swimming, and they don't listen to the next steps. So clearly it was something like that happened this time. I know there's some conspiracy theories out there that, Tina threw the challenge to try to protect Katie. I don't believe that for a second.
No.
We would have caught an interview of that. It would have been shown, and that's risky. Throwing the challenge. Well, it wouldn't, obviously not to protect Katie. She would need to win to protect Katie. They're suggesting that she threw the challenge to protect Aris. No. Tina had her daughter on the tribe with her. If she's going to protect anybody, it's that person. The only way to do that is competing and winning. Now, as bad as that was, and as physically outmatched that they were, the mostly women tribe almost won this challenge. I
know. I felt bad for them. But it was a puzzle that, obviously forgetting the fish tribe was, very detrimental to their game, but at the same time, yes, it was they screwed up the puzzle like twice or three times.
Yeah.
It was kind of a hard puzzle. Those koi were not,
Yeah, they weren't completely aligned. I mean, when I first looked at it, it's like, oh, they did it. And then, yay! Nope. Try. Yay! Nope. It's like, maybe you'll learn after the first one. No more premature celebrations. Listen.
Oh, whatever. I'm excited.
But yeah, they almost won it twice while the guys were still putting it together. Now, I guess the flip side of that is the guys weren't putting it together wrong, so they had to take a little bit more time. But it was as close as it could be with an epic fail at the beginning. So maybe these two tribes aren't as mismatched as we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the dudes can lose next week, which could then put Aris in big trouble. So the ladies plus Vetus lose. Things are looking really bad for Vetus. In fact, I bet Vetus at that point was thinking, what would be really awesome right now? An idol.
Yep.
Yeah, too bad he threw that glue in the fire. And this is the point where I think a lot of people are going to give Vetus a big part of credit because that's what people do. They give compelling male characters more credit perhaps than they're worth. And earlier, obviously, we were giving him credit for the social game, but I think I'm giving him credit for doing the things to lay some groundwork. But the result of tonight's episode was almost entirely because Kat just screwed up. She just gets annoyed by Monica, saying, oh, Monica's over-strategizing, we need to vote her out. Well, how much strategy was Monica really doing here? It seemed like her strategy was to talk to her alliance mates about voting out the one person that wasn't an alliance mate.
That's what it sounded like.
Ooh, that's some Russell Hantz type level of chaos there. I think what really happened here is Kat doesn't really like Monica.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the same tribe together in One World, and as much as it's difficult to remember because, Monica was voted out very early. So thinking back that far, for the regular person is hard, but not for this guy. There was kind of a dynamic that Monica and the other older lady, who I'll be honest right now, her name I can't remember, was complaining about Kat, and that she was young and immature and making her goofy noises and I think farting all the time or something like that. So there's probably the entire undercurrent of the relationship they've had since that time and the time previous is that Kat probably resents being treated like a child by Monica. So when Monica is coming to her all the time, telling her what they need to do, the simple, sensible advice of voting out the biggest threat that coincidentally isn't part of their alliance at all, she's just got annoyed and is like, I want to get rid of Monica, because she kind of just wanted to get rid of Monica anyway. What do you think?
I agree. That's what happens. And the whole, I love Monica, we love each other. No, you don't.
I'm sure you've never talked about women in your life that way. That, I love her so much, and then complained about her for 10, 15, 70 straight minutes.
Never complained about anyone for 70 straight minutes.
This is what I imagine that the parties you have with your other lady friends are like. Mm-hmm. That and pillow fights.
That and pillow fights. That's what we do at our shopping party. Pillow fights. Yep.
Give a shout out to your shop. There you go. Oh, yeah, shopping lady parties. That one's for you. But yeah, so Kat very inelegantly kind of brooms Monica on everybody, right? That's like goes to Tina, says let's vote her out, and then Tina totally just godfathers her and just goes right to Monica and it's like, hey, you should hear the stuff that Kat's saying. I kind of love Tina right now. Yeah. I think she's clearly the player of the season right now. I think Vetus is the character of the season, and you could still win. I'm not ruling that out. But if I was doing power rankings, Tina would be clearly at the top. She was in the power alliance with ours before the swap. Swap happens. She's still the power player. She senses the trouble that Kat's going to cause and decides, well, the more stable alliance mate is Monica, and that's where she stays. And after that, pretty much no amount of damage control could, save Kat. But here's the other beauty part for Tina is all the blood's on Monica's hands.
Yeah, no, that's what it looks like. It's true.
So we get to Tribal Council. At this point, the show always likes to set up that there's a potential of this or a potential of that. I didn't believe for 1 second that Vetus is still the target. Did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so it's all about Kat, and Probst is, grilling her, and she looks like she's going to cry, and she's begging for her life. I think some people, I know some people felt bad for her in that moment. Not me.
No.
You took a shot, and you missed.
Yeah.
And now you got to suffer the consequences. And, look, sometimes in this game you need to take shots. This is not one of those instances. Let the easy vote go. Vetus is no help to Kat at all, unless she could somehow sense that, he was really important to her boyfriend's game and she was playing that move, but that wasn't what was happening. Kat was just trying to flex some level of control, and it was too soon. It happens to many better players than her, and she paid the price.
I like how she felt like she was uncool.
Yeah, that was the best. It's like, who wants to date somebody who gets voted out pre-merge? Does that just tell you everything you know about reality show couples?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't even hang out with people that didn't at least, reach 4 episodes. So, there's not a lot to talk about with that vote. Was it the right move? Sure. Unless you really think that it was a mistake to take off their eyes off the ball and vote out Vetus. What do you think? Should it have been Vetus or should it have been Kat?
I don't know. It probably should have been Vetus. Like, let's keep the, power to the women kind of thing. But at the same time, I see why they did it, right? It's just the way it is. She was rocking the boat, and if you rock the boat, that's what happens.
Yeah, with Vetus almost it's like you have a better sense of the danger he poses. Mm-hmm. Whereas Kat clearly isn't playing ball. And thus, you should just cut her out. Especially the fact that she, like Vetus, has a very dangerous member on the other side. She still has a loved one in Hayden. Aris really isn't as dangerous to, Tina.
Right.
Or Monica, they're in alliance with Aris. So if they need to fold in Vetus to that for a little bit, that's not going to hurt them.
No.
That said, there was once another guy who was the only guy left in a bunch of women, and they felt sorry for him a bit, and they kept taking care of other business, girls that were bothering them, girls that posed threat. That guy won. That was Christo Tree in Vanuatu. So maybe that's going to be what happens here for Vetus.
Okay, I chose Vetus.
Yes, that's what clouding your analysis. You're like, was it a good move? I don't care. I want Vetus around. And, I criticize, but every week I come with outlandish predictions because I need to predict a way that Sierra wasn't going home.
There you go.
I don't need to do that anymore. She's not going anywhere. Suck it, John. So let's take a moment to assess. We're 6 episodes in. We've had this big shuffle. Who do you think at this moment is in the best position in the game?
I didn't really think about it too much. Sorry, I must have missed that point in my podcast breakdown.
This is what happens with amateurs.
Yeah. What do you think, Andy?
Well, I'll just repeat what I said a couple minutes ago. I think Tina. I think Tina's in the best shape. She's got many options alliance-wise. She has the other 4 ladies right now, and Monica, Laura B, and her daughter. Vetus is clearly, warming up to her. Mm-hmm. It's telling that when Tina came over to tell Monica what Kat was up to, Vetus was just standing right there, and they didn't be like, hey, we need to pull off to the side. They were just like, we were going to vote you out, no offense, but this is what's going on. She has Aris on the other side still. Yeah. As far as she knows, she still has an alliance with Tyson and Jervis. Katie brings with her Sierra, so...
Oh my goodness, she's really looking good.
She's got multiple options no matter the way the chips tend to fall. She's proven to be a strong strategic player and a strong social player. She won't be an immediate target or threat. And, she can compete a bit. There are challenges that Tina will be able to win, despite her epic fail today. So I think she's in a very good position. I think Caleb and Hayden could be in a good position. Right now it's 3-3 on that side, but the three guys from the returnees tribe seem really itching to take each other out. Or at the very least, Tyson and Jervis seem itching to take Aris out. I think this is a very, very stupid move. I get the threat that Aris posed. He's already won this game. He's very likable. You don't do it yet. Here's what happens if Tyson successfully gets Aris out next week. Now, Caleb, Hayden, and Sierra are 3. And I'll do this Brad Culpepper style. 3 with 2 equals win. Who's the next obvious target once you take out Aris? I know in Tyson's mind he thinks it's Vetus. No, it's Tyson. Keep Aris around for just a little bit longer. There's no reason, and especially since he hasn't, I think, formed the bonds on the other side of the fence. He takes out Aris now. Maybe they merge right away. And now, Tina and Vetus are over there, and they're like, let's take out Tyson. So I think for all the talk we've had that Tyson's playing a better game, a more patient game, it's all going away. And it's just kind of like what we saw with the fans earlier. As soon as Brad broke the trust and voted out a member of his alliance in John, the alliance reacted by taking out Brad. I mean, in kind of an unusual route, it was Caleb that did it, but the seeds of distrust were there. So I think Tyson should cool his jets a bit. And I think, much as the previews want to show that this is, Aris is in danger, I kind of think he's going to out-survive this. Because if this is happening with me, and if what we see in the previews happens, is that, Tyson and Jervis start talking to the other three, and it's like, we should target Aris. The play for Caleb, Sierra, and Hayden is to not go along with it and take out Aris. I mean, that wouldn't be bad.
No.
One less person that isn't with you is gone. But the play is to be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then let Tyson and Jervis vote Aris, let Aris vote whoever, it doesn't matter, and those three of them can just vote out Tyson. And then possibly absorb Aris. I mean, they could take that info to Aris, but there's always a chance that Aris wouldn't believe them, go back to Tyson, and it all falls through. You don't need Aris' vote in this point. 2-1-3 gives you the power. And then you still have Vetus on the other side. They'll know that from Redemption Island. Bring Vetus and Aris to your side. Or bring Vetus, Tina, and Katie to your side. So I think there's a very legitimate possibility that what Tyson does here not only sinks himself, but kind of sinks all of his former tribe, similar to what he did the last time he was on Survivor. So, as we discussed, the big moment of this episode was the swap. Mm-hmm. So that brings us to this week's historical discussion, where you're just going to be a stunning contributor because this is how our lives work. I watch this show, and you know what? I just watch it once. As obsessed as you might think I is, I watch every episode once. But then I think about it way too much.
Stays up very late.
I memorize it all. I don't work to memorize it all. It's just how my memory works. It remembers unimportant things and then forgets all the things you asked me to do. But you are a casual fan. You watch it and then you move on with your life. You kind of do things. And, so you might not be the biggest contributor to the historical discussion, but, it works for our lives, because if you thought about this show and cataloged it in your brain and all that like I did, we would not function as a family or as a couple. So, just keep that in mind, listeners out there. She's an important part of this team. She's the Amber to my Rob, and maybe I'm overselling myself there, but not you, babe. Listen, so for today's historical discussion, we want to talk about swapping in Survivor. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean any kind of,
I know, I just had that.
Rob and Amber and Ethan and Jenna go to a party type swapping. But what this show's done, so sometimes they call it a swap, a shuffle, but basically they take one tribe, members of one tribe, members of the other tribe, and switch them up. That's happened so far 14 times in the history of Survivor. We are on Survivor 27, so basically half the time this happens. And what's kind of interesting to me, and we'll talk about this a little bit, is no matter the fact that there's basically 1 in every 2 seasons do this, so many players act as though it's not a possibility. But first, how do you feel about swapping, tribe swapping? Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing? Is it fair? What do you think?
I think it's a good thing. I think sometimes you just need to kind of balance out the tribes, right? Like you have, like, when one tribe gets totally decimated, it's kind of not really great television to watch. I mean, it's kind of fun, a little bit, but, you know, the other team that gets beaten tends to get really depressed, and that's not fun to watch Camp Life when they're all, like, mopey and stuff, so I think it's good to switch it up.
Yeah, I mean, they should introduce the shuffle in the 3rd season of Survivor Africa. And what it's done and what it's proven to be is a really good tool for production to bust up alliances. Because alliances that form really early, and lately they've been forming like before teams even get out there, or before they've even had a chance to talk to each other, just kind of standing in line, kind of sizing people up, giving people nods. And that's, you know, not just in a returnee season, like all seasons. And that can be boring. An alliance that just basically forms the beginning based on just that person seems like alright, that person seems like alright, and goes the distance, it doesn't make for very good television. So what swaps do is bust up alliances. You know, if you got an alliance of 5, well, 2 of those people might end up over here, and 2 of them end up over here, and now you're forced to readjust. That's a very good thing. The other thing is, like you were saying, it sometimes will balance out an imbalance. So one tribe is just dumping the other one, let's swap them up, and then maybe it won't be so bad. Interestingly, as I discussed earlier, in recent seasons, it's not been very balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to kind of the bad part of swaps is that they can sometimes be incredibly unfair for certain players.
Yes.
They've done swaps in different ways, different times. Sometimes it's been random. Sometimes it's you pick 3 members of your tribe and come visit Jeff, and all of a sudden you guys are going. They've done pick'ems. They've done send your strongest member here and then set them off. But what typically happens is that very next tribal council, somebody who was in a pretty good, decent position before the swap happened is just taken out because through no fault of their own, they're on the bad side of numbers, and they're gone. And there's a few different examples of players that just got screwed by the swap. One of the most famous players who got screwed by a swap is, I just mentioned, Boston Rob. In Marquesas, he was the leader of one tribe, and then he was down 3-6 in the other. Now, I don't cry for him too much because, you know, through his terrible leadership on his tribe in Marquesas is why they were at such a numbers imbalance. Other people that this happened to is in China, the guy that wasn't James was sent over to the other tribe. And they threw the challenge just so they could get rid of him. People often whine. No, throwing challenges is dumb. Throwing challenges is bad. Not in this case. It was the right thing to do. The game handed an overmatched tribe a really strong player that on the other side. You get those guys out if you can. The only thing was that they didn't get to throw it the next time to get rid of James. Although, again, they wouldn't have been able to because James had not 1 but 2 immunity idols at that point. Marcus in Gabon was another case where he was in very good position and suddenly he wasn't. But I don't have a lot of sympathy for him because that guy threw an idol into the ocean. But yeah, so there's a level of unfairness in swapping that you just kind of have to chalk up to shrug. Luck plays a big part of this game. But in terms of just for the show, I think it's good. Which is why, as I discussed earlier, I don't understand why so many players act as though a swap is never going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
And by why I mean that by that is they get so focused on forming their core alliance of, you know, generally it's about 5 people, and they just exclude the people that aren't part of their alliance. And they don't even act like they're, you know, important to them. And then a swap happens, and suddenly you're stuck with one of those people that you treated like dirt, and maybe those other people that you were counting on so much are on the other side. And guess what happens with the people you were treating like dirt? Yeah, they team up with the people on the other side, and they vote you out, Marcus. Idol thrower away, Mr. Entitled Doctor Guy.
Somebody doesn't like Mark.
Yeah, actually Marcus is a fine dude. Bone was a terrible season, there was nobody to cheer for. But, in terms of Survivor play, this is kind of gets into one of my tenets, is treat people well, even if you don't find them immediately useful, because you never know when they might be.
Couldn't we just treat people well because they're decent human beings?
Nah, I don't care about decent human beings. This is a game built on deception, and it's a single winner. You have to vote somebody out 3 days. So it's like, if you're not a very nice person, if you're going to lie to people, I have no problem with that whatsoever. When I play poker with people, guess what? I pretend to have cards that I don't have.
There you go.
But yes, in terms of treating people nicely, that's actually also just a good thing. I find this kind of a balance. Lie to them and backstab them all you want in terms of the game. But in terms of human beings, yeah, sure, be decent to them. But yes, even if you feel like that's too touchy-feely, be decent to them because it's important, because you never know when you might swap. Now I'm going to really put you on the spot here. You're scrolling through the wiki on your iPad. Is there any one swap that really kind of sticks out into your mind?
Yeah, there is. It was All Stars with my favorite characters, Amber and Boston Rob. So, sorry, I got excited. And I get quiet.
More light.
I don't know if anyone's ever had to tell me that I need more volume to my voice, ever.
I know, this is like a complete flip of our dynamic.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that Andy's loud, and like him, so quiet.
Yeah, this is not what it's
Nice.
like.
Again, you were saying.
Okay, so the swap that I really like would have been in All Stars when Amber has to go to the other tribe. Let's say that.
Yeah.
And she was doing really, really well, and then Rob. I thought she's going to go to the tribe with Jerry, Kathy, Lex, and Shan, and Rob kind of grabs Lex and says, "Take care of my girl, and I'll take care of you." Is that what he says, or something to that effect?
Something like that.
And
take care of my girl, and I'll take care of you. I'm the Rob father.
I don't know. That doesn't sound very Bostonian, but anyway, you were just there, so. Yeah, that was probably one of the good switches because, it was good because she won.
Yeah, actually, what's interesting is that you could point to that as being like the most unfair swap in the history of the show. They have numbers advantage. Everybody moves but her, and suddenly, she's just the one person, the odd person out. So that kind of shows, for as much as you want to say, it screws people. Nobody was potentially hurt more than Amber, and then, she won $1 million. And interestingly, the person that actually really got screwed by that swap was Boston Rob.
Oh, I guess.
If there was no swap there, or Amber isn't the only person on the other tribe, he doesn't have to expend that game capital with Lex. And then Lex doesn't sit there at tribal council saying, "You sold out for a stack of greenbacks," and just the most bitter, hate-fueled jury of all time. And Rob loses by 1 vote, despite perhaps playing the greatest game in the history of Survivor. But yeah, I'd say that was one of the most memorable swaps. Kind of a similar swap happened in Fiji, and this was after there was the haves versus the have-nots. They swap them up. Actually, I think there was 2 swaps that season, if I'm not mistaken. I guess I'm mistaken. Or the wiki's mistaken, because I remember Michelle, Earl, and Yao-Man ended up going over to the have side, or mixing up on the have side. And then right before that, there was another one where Michelle was suddenly put by herself with all the people on the other side. And they just voted her out. Of course they were going to vote her out. And she didn't really have any shot at it, other than if Earl and Yao-Man's tribe just had thrown the challenge to protect her. So that's what probably should have happened to Amber, but Earl and Yao-Man didn't have previous relationships with Kathy and Lex, who I guess nursed Rob back to health when a girl from Survivor Africa broke up with him. Something like that. Yeah, so there you go. That's just some of the more memorable ones. Probably the most effective ones, and this is just kind of a simple rule, is when the tribes are balanced at time with the swap. So both in Africa, the very first swap, and in the Amazon, it was basically each tribe had 6-6. So it just split up 3-3. So there's never really that imbalance that happens where it's like 4 people from one tribe, 1 on the other. Sometimes it's particularly frustrating when a team that had majority suddenly becomes minority, because then it kind of accomplishes what you want to see. You can't just stick to your original alliance of whoever is there because you don't have numbers. Eventually somebody's going to have to come over to your side, or some strong-willed people will have to risk the wrath of the Purple Rock. But that doesn't really happen, and I don't even know if it's happened since Amazon, so which maybe kind of gets to my point of they should have done this earlier, although there was no opportunity this season for the tribes to ever be equal, except for the very first week of the season. Anything else you kind of think about, swaps
Sorry, no, I don't have anything else for you.
That's all right. Listeners out there, if you have any thoughts of shuffles, whether you think they're a good thing, bad thing, neutral, whether you think they're fair or not, if you have favorite shuffles, if you think they should be employed more often, less often, respond to us in one of the many forums that you can follow us, whether it be on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod, on Tumblr at Purple Rock Podcast, or email us at purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. Now it's time to close up the show with our traditional predictions for next week. And I know you, when you're listening along and every night putting our baby to sleep, you're always thinking, what do I think is going to happen next week? Or you're frantically trying to figure out what's going on with Survivor and who's still in it right now. I'll give you a little bit of time. Let's start it off. The easy one is, who do you think is going to leave Redemption Island? And before this, I'll just state, we just kind of predict this because obviously one of the goals of predictions is to vote out, to decide who is no longer going to be on the show. But it's kind of hard to predict who's going to get eliminated from a challenge that you don't even know what it's going to be. That said, it's hard for me to imagine any challenge that I'd come up with that Kat wouldn't finish last in this group.
I agree. Kat's going home.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy one. That's an easy one to punt. I think Laura and John beat her at almost anything. Mm-hmm. So, more interestingly, who do you think is getting voted out? So, there's two different tribes, obviously. What it depends on is who's going to lose. I think the mostly women tribe is going to lose again because, again, Sierra doesn't have to compete. Hey, that's the best application for Sierra. Even if they lose, they can't be like, Sierra stuck on the puzzle again, because I can't imagine a scenario where she's not sitting on a log watching.
Okay, fine. So then that's the New Galang tribe. And so if they go to tribal, it'll be unfortunately poor Laura B.
Yeah, I think that's the move. She isn't connected enough. She doesn't really contribute. While she's not that dangerous, the danger is that she just feels herself to be a floating free agent. Yeah. Kind of like Shambo was in Survivor Russell Hantz. Samoa. And you don't want those people around. So, I think Tina's probably been smart enough to kind of make Laura feel welcome. And Laura's got to feel fairly good that she wasn't voted out these past two tribal councils. Mm-hmm. You don't vote out Monica. You've just done a lot of work shoring up her alliance. Obviously, Tina doesn't vote out Katie, and nobody's voting out Tina. So then your candidates there are Vetus or Laura B. I think Tina has already kind of taken a liking to Vetus, and I think more than anything else, now we're talking 5 people, all she needs is Katie, Vetus, and herself, and that's a majority. So I think they just kind of say, sorry, Laura, we took you as far as we could, and we'll see you around. What do you think would happen if the guys lose? Do you buy the previews? Is Aris in trouble?
I don't think so. I think they're going to get rid of either Hayden or Caleb.
So you think Sierra flips and votes them out? Do you think they risk the Purple Rock?
I'm not going to risk the Purple Rock.
Yeah, so I think Tyson does make his move. And here's the other reason why it's a bad idea for Tyson to make his move against Aris. A wise philosopher once said, you come at the king, you best not miss. You vote out Aris this time. Say it's successful. The fans will be like, sure, anybody but me. Guess what? Aris isn't actually going home. Mm-hmm. He's going to Redemption Island, where I would put his odds at succeeding and coming back in the game well over 50%.
I agree.
He is accomplished in many ways. I mean, John could, match him pound for pound. Laura has her own skills, but there's a more than decent chance that you're not actually going to get rid of him. So it's another reason why there's no point in turning on him now. But Tyson's going to try.
Yep.
And I think Tyson's going to fail. And I think if they lose, Tyson's going to get voted out. So this marks the second week in a row where I've predicted Tyson would get voted out. It's entirely possible that I'm just doing this as some, passive-aggressive form of revenge for my normal co-host who's been slagging on my Sierra pick every week, which in a normal season I'd be all in favor of. I mean, come on, she's not very useful, but guess what? She's still in the game, and she ain't going nowhere. I'm a freaking genius at this. Doesn't matter how many, average players seem to just last forever. People are still willing to, in survivor pools and everything, just pick, I want to pick the 5 strongest guys. And so there's ever been a season when the 5 strongest players are the final 5 people. So Tyson gets voted out if they lose, and I'll be sad to see an entertaining player go, especially because he won't be around for the jury. Although, just as likely as it is for ours to get a comeback from Redemption Island, so could Tyson. I want to thank you for helping me out this week.
You're welcome, Andy.
I need some prompting. I need the energy we bring.
I'm sorry.
And next week, John will be back, and I think we're just going to do a simple two-man booth, bang it out and give you the Survivor nerdery that you are looking for every week, and maybe even get it posted before the few minutes before the next episode. So until then, thank you for listening, and thank you for choosing the Purple Rock the only time that it's good for a Survivor fan to do so.